my hair but no stress now. Straight out the guys looking like a mess now. Driving off the tracks but I'm back and I've seen hell, but this is a bit more my style. I'm alive, I'm revived, I survived. You surprised, gonna cry about it? You should see the other guy. I'm returned and I've waited my turn. A decade of time to make everything mine. Am I the bad guy? I'll be the bad guy again just like last time. And we all know how that ends. No one came to help, so I'll help myself instead. You think I cared? It was always a means to an end. I've got my second chance. I've got a new lease on life. It's not just circumstance. No, it was all in good time. So who cares? So what? I'm not coming down. Screw that. Keep up. Now look around. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm better now that I'm free. Cause I've seen the other side and now I'm back where I wanna be. It was 13 and a half years I spent on that platform in hell, but I've come back hell bent. White streak in my hair but no stress now. Straight out the guys looking like a mess now. Driving off the tracks but I'm back and I've seen hell, but this is a bit more my style. I'm alive, I'm revived, I survived. You surprised, gonna cry about it? You should see the other guy. I'm returned and I've waited my turn. A decade of time to make everything mine. This is my sunrise, this is my dawn. This is what I've waited for all along. All of this time, all this is mine. Mine, all mine. Shut up and listen, cause I'm back and I found my will to live. I'll say I'm sorry, but you don't have to forgive. Cause regardless, I'm moving on regardless to the next big thing. A throne will always await a king. But now the train's up the station, the ticket price and my patience. A decade stuck in location of misery and damnation. And now I see the causation of all this pain and frustration. It's everything that I've taken. Oh yes, I blew up the nation. There's something wrong with me. I'm better now that I'm free. Cause I've seen the other side and now I'm back where I wanna be. It was 13 and a half years I spent on that platform in hell, but I've come back hell bent. White streak in my hair but no stress now. Straight out the guys looking like a mess now. Driving off the tracks but I'm back and I've seen hell, but this is a bit more my style. I'm alive, I'm revived, I survived. You surprised, gonna cry about it? You should see the other guy. I'm returned and I've waited my turn. A decade of time to make everything mine. White streak in my hair, and I'm not going back there. And if there's one thing that I'll swear, I'll be back for a while, kids, so go ahead and smile.
Wake up, first thing, always trying to get ahead. No more dreaming, fragments of it in my head. Addiction is compulsory, agreeing just to disagree. Pull ourselves apart into debris. Cause algorithms haunt me, air your dirty laundry, hang it all on me. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. Messed up, give me your confession. Never learn our lessons. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. Start the countdown, feeding the anxiety. Blacked out, burned up, we can't survive this industry. Just say what's on your mind, just shut up, you'll be fine. Just keep letting the cycle run you over and over and over again. Taunt me, air your dirty laundry, hang it all on me. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. Messed up, give me your confession. Never learn our lessons. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. Within this black spiral, everyone acts entitled. You're just one more rival. Don't ever meet your idols. Decline to low vitals. Don't care about survival. Just wanna go viral. We feed this vicious cycle. But it's always a race. Nobody will care if you come in second place. Only show the artificial life you create. Fight to stay relevant. Disregard our negligence. It's evident, it's prevalent. We've halted our development. Doomed to repeat this cycle. Cause algorithms harm
Okay. It has been a while. But I want to get through more of these. As always, before we begin, do not go and seek out these people to harass or attack or insult them. Don't. These streams are to correct misinformation regarding DID, something that we live with every day. That being said, here we go.
Self-diagnosis. Self-diagnosis allows you to pick and choose whichever ailments you'd like with just a little help from the internet.
TikTok has ruined the way that we look at mental health today. And honestly, it's no wonder. With TikToks going around like this.
Hansel is autistic. Let me explain how I know. My credentials are that I'm autistic and Tangled is one of my special interests and I watch it at least once a day.
TikTok over the last few years has surely just...
Okay. Someone having a headcanon does not hurt anyone. Going to speed this up, I think.
been turning mental health into some kind of weird trend. And looking at the numbers of certain TikTokers, it's easy to see why this type of behavior is addictive, with them gaining hundreds of thousands, if not millions of likes, views, and even followers, creating a massive fan base on a complete and utter lie. Sure, some of them actually do have disorders, but again, they just play up massively for the camera. TikTok is just rotting our brains at this point. So let's have a deep dive and look at some of these creators with some of the more well-known videos that have surfaced over the years and just see where TikTok went so wrong. Mental illness into a trend. But before we look at the brain rot, the best part of today's video, the comment shout out. And that goes to Meepy Doppy. Thank you for your comment on tomorrow's video. So first of all, I'd like to just mention how unbelievably frustrating it is for everybody online. Like, I do see the very real detrimental effects. I feel like that's why I've been quite passionate on this topic. And I understand I make quite a lot of videos on this. But you know, it also just kind of saddens me when I see people online who actually have these certain disorders go through hell and back because of certain TikTokers that have literally made this into a trend. Great.
This is a DID creator that has DID. Thank you, next.
Dances.
You shouldn't do that. Like, what about me? What about you? Well, I have a real diagnosis, and self-diagnosing just really harms us. Okay, let me make this really clear. The doctors you seem to love and hold dear, we have more info than they learn in school, so shit don't need to be so damn clinical.
Rating, put a finger down.
Completely different food preferences. Put a finger down if you have system members who are ridiculously similar to each other but are still different. Put a finger down if you have system members who are different sexuality than other system members. Put a finger down if maybe you guys have different Spotify playlists that you made for each other, music playlists. Put a finger down if you guys all wear different clothing styles and you can't agree on one outfit most of the time.
Spreading complete and utter misinformation.
Apologies. Misinformation like you like to spread.
About certain things.
The lion, the witch, and the audacity of this bitch. Right in my comments where I can see it, because I've got notifications on for this post still. Inanimate, non-human, and animal alters are very common because of how the brain processes trauma.
That is true.
Sometimes it does it funny. Please go have a garbage attitude somewhere else.
Before anyone writes in the comments down below, I know that you can have animal alters. But common? It's common? I don't think...
DID is a dissociative disorder that stems from severe repeated childhood trauma. If a child is being abused, they may end up feeling dehumanized. It is not a difficult concept to understand how an animal alter may be made.
Think so, unless it being common is TikToker kids like this one who where Wilbur the dog ults and reacts to rain for the first time.
Sniff, 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 sniff.
Yes, Wilbur, sniff. And that is primarily the issue, is kids creating TikToks like these, making it into a big joke, putting in tags and making it trendy, putting on dog ears while recording yourself and then going into an editing software to quite literally edit a AI voice to say sniff sniff. I'm going to have to hit the doubt button that you actually have an animal alter. Remember, we've looked at this in the past. This is what a real animal alter looks like.
Strange hoax. Ukrainian girl, Oksana Malaya, running, jumping, eating and barking.
Okay, not all animal alters are going to actually act like animals. It does not mean that they are any less real or any less valid.
Just like a dog. But this is no fraud. Oksana's behaviour is the result of the most cruel childhood neglect. Neglect that began when she was 3.
Notice there's no TikTok to be seen. And it's honestly hard to know where even to get the right information. And that alone is extremely frustrating. But then making these fun, quirky TikToks just really hurt people that actually live with these horrific disorders, as if their life isn't already bad enough.
No sources. I wish I could say I was surprised.
I'm sure it saddens them every time they go over to TikTok and they see someone using it to put in their tags to get a little bit of extra fame. Honestly, it's just very disgusting. Like, take this clip, for example.
You.
So you do realize that this is a skit. If you actually took the time to go to their page, then you would see that this is a series of skits that the system has done. Completely made up. Systems are allowed to make skits.
Yes, you. The fuck was that? You think I didn't see that? What, I just fronted to kill a fly. You climbed up the wall and onto the ceiling like a fucking lizard. It was getting away. You killed it with fire. Okay, yeah, a bit over the top, but like I didn't do any damage to the walls or anything. You killed it with fire from your mind.
Setting up the camera and then putting on different pieces of clothing to create a drama play that all your alters take part in.
So obviously you have not actually watched whatever you have added in here. Because that just isn't true. Okay, next.
Stuff like that. But it doesn't have to be with just DID either. Another thing as well, when I've been looking back at a lot of these videos, is I seem to come across a lot of these TikTokers making the same argument every single time. Talking about being self-diagnosed, and also how it's a privilege to get diagnosed with creating.
It is a privilege. You may not understand because you may not live in the United States. But we do not have free healthcare over here. Just a normal doctor's visit or a psychiatrist session could put someone in debt. So yes, it is a privilege. If it's somewhere that has universal healthcare, there are so many videos by this creator in this. It's Ablaze and Michelle Manna are the two most I just wish that people who didn't have the disorder and were not qualified to speak on it from a professional standpoint would not make videos about the disorder. I don't know, is that a wild concept?
TikToks talking like this.
Pay for it, right? Like, every dime, penny, whatever, you're gonna pay for it, right? Because we can't afford it.
They said right there that they can't afford it because the United States does not have universal health care. We have to pay for everything. And if you have insurance, that in itself is a privilege. But insurance isn't free either. I don't think these people have an understanding of not having a lot of money to just spend on things like getting a diagnosis when there are things more important, such as paying for going to the therapy sessions, which is more important than getting a diagnosis. Getting therapy is more important if you need that. Things like rent and bills. Not everyone has money to be spending. We had thought that our insurance covered our current therapist. Apparently it doesn't, so we are paying out of pocket for that.
If you want us to get a diagnosis, that's fine. We'll do it. But you gotta pay for it. If you want us to get a diagnosis, you gotta pay for it. Oh yeah, and we're legally not able to because for some reason you cannot get diagnosed with the disorder until the body is 18 for some stupid reason. But you want us to get a diagnosis, and we can turn 18. Pay for it then. This comment is the prime example of tell me you have medical privilege without telling me you have medical privilege.
Which is crazy to say that at the end of the video, while then asking us to pay for it.
That's not crazy to... The cognitive dissonance is so massive that I'm struggling to even process it.
Talking about privilege, then saying to us, you pay for it. Honestly, some of these jokes just kind of write themselves. But again, it's not true. Actually, in the US, you can get a diagnosis, especially if you're rendered unable to work. With honestly just a quick Google search, you can come across stuff like this. Community healthcare centers offer low cost or free care on a sliding scale.
Exactly. And they have every right to be frustrated. But also, I wish I could see where this source came from, but it's more important to put the links to a Discord server and memberships and a Facebook profile and stickers than actually putting sources in a very serious video covering very serious topics. Community mental health centers don't always offer services for things like severe trauma and dissociation. Exactly. Exactly. dissociative disorders in general, as well as any disorder stemming from trauma. Not many people want to deal with that because of how heavy it is. It's not like people are just refusing to get help because they don't want to. It's that there's no help available. Or if it is, then it is insanely expensive.
To the public. Typical service include emergency services, therapy, psychiatric care for adults and for children, and you can expect to go through an intake interview that determines the kind of care you'll receive. Just kind of goes to show how lazy some of these kids are. They can't even like Google this, bro. It must be far more easier to them to go onto TikTok and blame the rest of the world for their problems instead of doing literally.
Okay, one, I know you meant that comment as an insult. But it is the world's fault that DID exists. It's not the people with DID who just decided to have it. It's not their fault for having it.
10 seconds of research. But the thing is that these kids are clearly putting it on. Let's be realistic. What kind of doctor is going to want to talk to one of these kids that has a SpongeBob alter because they suffered trauma as a kid? That trauma being their parents took away their iPhone 15.
Okay. I'm going to give a... Exactly. You are not lazy. And as long as you are doing proper research, and not just looking at a 15-second video on TikTok and saying that you have something. If you are self-diagnosed, you are valid. End of. Just end of. But Ashley, what if I don't care? I do not care. Self-diagnosis is valid. Because it's not what people like to claim it is. I see that, which is why I'm going to give a massive trigger warning right now, because I'm going to be very graphic with my next words. So if you would rather not hear that, feel free to mute the stream until the video starts playing again. But just a massive trigger warning for graphic child abuse descriptions. Okay. It would have been amazing if our trauma that we survived was just having our phone taken away. That would have been much, much easier to deal with than being trafficked by our own parents starting from when we were 2. It would have been easier to deal with having our phone taken away than having child sexual abuse material made of us. And not just us by ourselves. There were other children involved, there were other adults involved, there were animals involved. We did not ask for any of that. That would have been easier to deal with. Having our phone taken would have been easier to deal with. You don't know what these people have gone through. Don't pretend that you do. You just come off as a pretentious asshole. And it's very clear that you don't do your research. I don't even feel pity for you because you're so disgusting. If you actually want to be a better person, take down these videos and issue a proper apology. Because you are causing more harm and spreading more misinformation than any of these people on TikTok are by making these funny little videos.
Pro Max for one night. That's not trauma. But again, it gets so much worse, as that wasn't the only kid that said that. Watch this kid struggle to get his words out and ask for the same thing.
Go to a professional, you say. Are you going to be paying for the entire year of the entire year that it would take for me to get diagnosed? And then are you also going to be paying for the travel fee?
I'm just saying, if you're going to ask me to pay for something, maybe you could at least get your words out first. The entire
Okay, so dissociation can make it very difficult to get words out. Not only are you an asshole, but you're also incredibly ableist.
entitlement here is crazy. Going off of the pre-notion of, no, you pay for it, is pretty mind-boggling to me, as an argument like that doesn't even have legs to stand on, and is just ridiculous, and is a...
How does it not have legs to stand on? You want people to stop self-diagnosing. So you should help them by providing the resources for them to get diagnosed. It is really that simple.
Perfect example of how old some of these people are. They act like kids because they are kids, and kids should not be self-diagnosing. Hell, I would like to expand that even to adults, but especially kids. Honestly, at this point, I find it is just anyone that has a TikTok account at this point who's clearly living off of this is kind of a bit of a red flag. Over the last 3 years, there has been so many ridiculous videos going viral, and the thing is that people watch it and actually believe it. Here's a good example of a TikToker talking about her headspace and how it's planned out all in her head, whatever that really means.
A headspace is the area where our alters live when they are not fronting. For us in our system, we have a living room, which falls from like our ears forward, parietal ridge up. This would be our living room. Here to our apex, from here to our apex, we have a conference room, and then in the back we have 2 closets. Then on the sides of the conference rooms, we have 4 bedrooms, and then on this side of our living room, we have a staircase, and going up, you have our attic, and then on this side, we have a glass, like outside of the headspace, but it's still part of our headspace. Outside, we have like a glass 360 view glass office where our narrator lives.
Damn, no cinema room. Kinda cringe.
That is unfortunately true. I wish it wasn't. So I've never heard of an inner world actually being laid out like that. Like, specifically, like the shape that they were describing. But inner worlds are very real and very common things within DID, and they have been documented.
And if the misinformation isn't bad enough with TikToks like that, there's also other videos too. Look at this one right here, where this TikToker claims that apparently now smoking is considered a stim.
Would smoking cigs be stimming? When I'm in psychosis, I will fixate on the ember. Yeah, smoking in pretty much any form, cigarettes, cigars, vapes, THC, all of these things can be a form of stimming. And I would go as far as to say that they are very common ways that people will stim. Like they're saying you can visually stim with looking at the ember.
Literally anything can be a stim.
Or watching the smoke. A lot of people I've known also like to play with lighters and watch the flame.
And we've looked into this quite recently on the channel, what stimming is. An uncontrollable motion. That feels kind of nice to do, as kind of a little bit of a relief. Smoking is not a stim. Despite what chronic smokers will tell you, pulling out a cigarette and lighting it and smoking the whole thing for about 2 minutes wasn't a sudden movement that accidentally happened. Oh no, I smoked the whole pack again. Gosh darn these stims, they are really getting out of control now. But it doesn't just stop there, as a lot of these TikTokers I find get extremely comfortable with the fame of making up stuff on their TikTok.
I'm going to skip anything regarding the winter system, only because they did come out and say that they had gotten it wrong. I don't know if that's changed, but from the last thing I heard, they have said that they do not have DID. I don't think that means that they were faking. I think that was just their experience and they were sharing it the best they knew how. And they took accountability for calling it DID.
That they seem to start creating other disorders. And the way that they try and play these all together doesn't make any sense. For example, here we have someone who's claiming they now have Tourette's because one of their alters has Tourette's.
Having Tourette's is this fucking nightmare.
So you do realize that someone can post videos on TikTok, not showing any tics, because they can choose what to post and what to edit out. You also do realize that Tourette's isn't just something that fits in one box. We don't have Tourette's. I won't speak much on it because I don't know much about it. But I have heard that people with Tourette's can go without ticking for long periods of time. Yes, that is correct. That is absolutely correct.
Where the more upset you get about your tics, the worse they get. Jesus. So you have to just like distract yourself and think about something else while you're like, fuck me.
Like, I've seen countless videos of this girl, and she hasn't ticked in any of them. All of a sudden now she can't get through 20 seconds without ticking. I have head ticks. This isn't how it works. Again, I know it's different for everyone, but this is just so far-fetched. I can confidently say this is BS. With other TikTokers completely taking over the internet a few years ago when this was blowing up, with one of these creators, as I remember, stating that he could easily switch who he wanted in his body, making videos talking about it. Which honestly, at this point, if you do even 5 minutes of research on DID, it doesn't work like that. I feel like unfortunately though, TikTok is such short-form content And it goes back to, why would someone like to fake this online anyway? That I know a lot of people don't want to go and do the research after. And I don't really blame them. If anything, I blame the people making the videos, obviously.
This is ridiculous. Now the back there. Yeah. You see the other guy? That guy's a gorilla. We won't let him in because we'll go around and find some trees and shit. But this one over here, he's a young artist. His name's Panther. Do you want to help?
So that doesn't seem much like DID. I would say that's closer to, and this is not me trying to diagnose, but from what I'm seeing in this seems more like some sort of psychosis, hallucinations. It doesn't seem like DID.
Hello. Bye-bye. There you go.
But as my guy is literally casually having lunch and seamlessly switching. Again, I was talking to people that have DID. They tell me how it's not a very nice experience and can be quite dramatic. This guy is doing it like a pro. It makes no sense. Which honestly started this huge trend of people setting up their cameras to catch their switches online. It honestly did take the internet by storm a few years ago, which, a side note, only 1% of the world actually suffers with DID. But here, a few years ago, it seemed like overnight everybody had it, but mainly kids, which is another red flag, being a little bit more impressionable at that.
DID is a disorder that develops in childhood. I don't know what else to say on that.
Younger age. So they created even more TikToks like this.
I can feel it coming on. Guess the player.
Oh, my.
So it doesn't take very long to just hit record on a camera. Not to mention, switching is so sensationalized for no reason. So systems showing switches is a way to normalize it. It's a symptom of the disorder. Exactly. He doesn't have DID. He is not a professional who treats DID. He should not be speaking about it.
My bad. I didn't know you were filming. Hey guys. Oh. Alright, I'm gonna go. Sorry.
I hid for a while. I was able to hide in the chicken coop and behind Greta's skirts so people couldn't see me. But they know I'm here now, and that's okay, because everyone's really nice, and I got a baby.
Oliver, where did you get the baby from? All jokes aside, it's incredibly disgusting to see this, and it is disgusting to also see how it's taken over TikTok. Something that I do find at least a little bit funny.
It's disgusting to normalize a symptom of a disorder. Okay, if you say so.
Is the fact that a lot of these people seem to get cured. Like, notice how it's not a very big trend anymore. It's not popping up nowhere near as much anymore. So a lot of these TikTokers aren't even talking about it anymore.
Have you ever stopped to consider that maybe the reason that people are talking about it less is because of things like the McLean presentation, which the people who were put in that without their consent, I have seen things and heard things from them about how they don't talk about their DID anymore, or not as often, because of that. People with DID are attacked and fake claimed just for existing. If someone is harassed for a disorder that they did not ask to have, that is going to make them want to talk about it less. It is videos like these, fake claiming people who are just trying to exist, that is the cause of people not wanting to talk about it. It's not that the trend has stopped, it was never a trend in the first place. It's that they had been attacked for just existing and are tired of it.
Except for the ones that actually have it. And again, I'm glad that I speak out against this because I see these people faking this type of stuff to be just as disgusting as when people fake cancer. Making it into a big joke is just kind of disgusting. Whichever the
Okay. If you are not part of a community, it is fine to support that community. This is not how you support a community. You think that you're standing up for people who, by your words, actually have DID. As someone part of a system that has been diagnosed with DID since 2021, you aren't helping. You aren't standing up for us. You're making it look like a joke. You're invalidating people's trauma and their experiences. You're spreading misinformation, and you need to shut up. Make videos about something else. I don't care what it is. But we don't want you trying to support our community, especially when you're going about it like this. Because you don't actually care about people with DID. You don't care. You don't care about correcting misinformation or stopping a trend. The only thing you care about is clicks. And you know that these videos are what get you those. You don't actually care about people with a severe dissociative disorder that stems from childhood trauma. So stop pretending that you do. Because if you actually cared, you would actually be trying to help the community instead of harm it. You are just stigmatizing it more. Exactly. It's so irritating.
disorder happens to be. Of course, I have been called out for this countless of times now on TikTok with people making videos like these.
Hey Ablaze, I'd really like to have an open, honest conversation with you. I am very curious why you instantly believed Eva Marie, instantly believed her, like that she has DID. I'm not saying she doesn't.
That's a name I have not heard in a while. Eva Marie. I'm going to start by saying that I don't know if she has DID or if she doesn't. I'm not going to speculate. That's not what this is about. I'm also going to say that we do not support pink sugar fairies because of things that they have done. So this isn't us trying to defend them for refusing to put flash warnings on their videos. That is very good. I hope that she is doing well then. That is not what I expected to hear about Eva Marie. Because we did not have a good experience with Eva Marie. But that was years ago. But I do remember Eva Marie did attack and fake claim and invalidate pink sugar fairies. And I believe it was in the stream we did about McLean, where she was in our comments just invalidating so many people's experiences and our own feelings with and about McLean, to the point where we actually hid her from our channel. This is not me saying to go out and seek her out or attack her. That is just what happened. That is our experience. This was years ago. We don't even know if she would still hold those beliefs, or if she is still that same person. I don't know. But I do hope that she is doing well.
If they don't, she probably does.
Okay, cool. We're on the same page then. And also probably because she didn't alter as SpongeBob SquarePants, which it certainly helps to make it a little bit easier to believe them.
So many people think that it's so just unbelievable and silly and ridiculous to have alters who are from fictional media or who are animals or non-human. But I need people to understand. DID develops in childhood. This is a children do not have adult logic. Children believe in the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. So if a child is going through something, like, for example, I won't get graphic, it's just going to be vague. If a child goes through trauma involving water, they may end up with something like a mermaid altar or a fish or something that can survive and breathe underwater. It doesn't take a genius to make that connection. It's not rocket science. It's obviously people as adults know that things like mythical creatures are not real, TV shows are not real. Children don't have that understanding.
It has come to my attention that I'm being bullied across multiple platforms. I would first off like to state that I'm 100% certain that I have a higher IQ than this musty white boy. He looks like he hasn't showered in over a year and probably smells like piss. Bro is so bitter and lonely. He really said, oh, if she were in bed with me, ew. I'm sorry you get no bitches. Don't worry, nobody's gonna be in your bed, I promise you that. This is just another cis white man that's trying to oppress and alienate an already oppressed group. Time to waste on pieces of shit like this. And buddy, if you're seeing this, wash your face, brush your teeth, jump scare. Maybe try putting on a mask or wearing a paper bag for your next YouTube video. I know your parents probably never told you this before, but I love you.
Yes, I'm the one doing the bullying, apparently. Guys, I'm not an
Yes, you are. You are. You absolutely are. I probably would not have said it in those same words as the girl in that video did, but you are a piece of shit.
incel. I don't hate women. My girlfriend's a woman. I only hate her sometimes.
Jump scare.
It's certainly a good response video when your only response back to the person is to take the piss out of their looks. What a very put together, well thought out argument. I think I lost that one.
Okay, you want to not have your looks brought up. That's fine. I haven't brought up your looks once. I've just brought up your morals and your lack of critical thinking and your lack of empathy and care for people. I won't touch your looks. I do not care what you look like. Does not matter to me. What matters is the words coming out of your mouth. And it's been a while since I've said this. If somehow one in a million chance that this creator actually sees any of the streams that I do, we are open to having a discussion with you. I may not like you as a person, but I do want to destigmatize the disorder that I live with and correct misinformation as much as possible. So if having a conversation with someone that I do not like will be steps towards doing that, then I will do it. But if you take me up on that offer, don't try and bullshit me. Don't try and intimidate me. Just be a decent person for maybe 5 minutes. I am more than happy to explain things. I will not devolve into insults unless it is things like you've said in these videos, such as the only trauma a child experiencing being having their phone taken away. You could even do content from our conversation if you really wanted to. I do not care. But that is a 1 in a million chance if he ever sees these.
I'm 100% certain that I have a higher IQ than this musty white boy. No, I'm just playing a video. Also, at work today, I was literally like, wow, that's good ink. I was like, I wonder what it feels like. And I squirted it out on my hands, and I was like this.
Okay, now you're just... I know that you are just matching the energy, but... Here's a shorter one. How long have I been streaming? Only an hour. Okay. Again, no sources.
I'm not quite sure how those videos made you feel, but bet there's a huge part of you that finds them probably pretty cringy. Look, we all know what being a teenager feels like you're wandering through a maze with a blindfold on. It's that phase where you are desperately trying to figure out who you are and where you fit in. And it's always been the kind of thing for us, even for me. Of course, back during when I was a teenager, to latch onto characters or celebrities that we admire, and to mold ourselves to fit in with their mold. For most, it's easy to have this thought, like, damn, if I could just be like them, everything would fall into place. But honestly, there's where things kind of take a turn. Recently, there's been a disturbing trend where many teens go to extreme lengths to escape their own reality by faking mental illness and completely erasing their identities in favor.
Okay, you brought up something already. You said that they do it to escape their reality. Have you ever considered why they want to escape their reality? Maybe it has something to do with something called trauma. Just a thought.
Favor of becoming someone else. We've covered this so much here on this channel, but now there's actually a new trend on TikTok that has taken storm. Yes, TikTok has become a hotbed for this. One disorder that's particularly popular for the dissociated identity disorder, or DID, where most TikTokers claim to have multiple personalities. And yes, that is already troubling enough. But what's even crazier is that most who are jumping on this trend don't really get what DID is even about. Instead of talking about their own personal experiences, they focus their content on characters and themes such.
So, fictives are real and valid. I wouldn't consider us a very fictive-heavy system unless we were talking specifically about our subsystems, which are very fictive-heavy.
Such as Has-Been Hotel. And quickly before we get into that, today is my birthday. And guys, if you wouldn't mind, please leave a comment down below saying hello. It's all I want for my birthday. It helps push the algorithm and I appreciate it massively. And I'll reply to every single one of them. Has-Been Hotel. What is it? Well, it's an American R-rated animated musical comedy. That was quite the mouthful. Set in hell. Nice. Created by Vivian Madrano, the pilot premiered on October 28th, 2019. It was co-written by Vivian and also Dave Capcheville, Daniel McDonald, and Raymond Hernandez, featuring songs by Perry Grip and music scored by Evan Alderete and Thomas Ryan. Now, I'm pretty sure I probably just about butchered every single one of those names, so please don't bully me in the comments. Jeez, give me some slack. Well, anyway, on August 7th, 2020, it was announced that Has-Been Hotel had been picked up by the independent entertainment production company A24 and would soon be airing on TV. The series was actually released on January 19th, 2024. Well, what's it about, Papa Olays? What is it all about? Well, the story follows Charlie, the princess of hell, obviously, who's sick and tired of the yearly
Okay, I don't need a whole synopsis about what the show is about.
DID.
What? They say insane shit all the time. How was I supposed to know this one was true? Bank accounts are a scam created by the shadow government. See?
This led to a new trend. Ugh, why? Why does it always have to lead to a new trend? Where many TikTokers created content claiming that DID systems or groups of identities within one person included characters from the show. If you're wondering around about now, but Blaze, what seems to be the problem with this? If you happen to know anyone that actually suffers with this awful disorder, please go ask them if it's even possible to alter as someone from a TV show.
It is. We've spoken about it before. We have a subsystem that is all Power Rangers characters. Well, Ashley, that sounds ridiculous. I know. It formed when we were a child, because that was our favorite TV show when we were suffering severe repeated trauma and abuse. Because our thought process was, when we were a child, if I could just be one of these characters, then I could just fight back and this wouldn't be happening. Again, children do not have adult logic. But yes, fictives are real and valid, just as any other alter.
Look at their reaction. I'm sure you'll probably get the picture. It's even gotten so bad now that it even has its own genre. I mean, if you type up has been hotel dissociative identity disorder, it literally has its own thing on Google. It's honestly just disgusting at this point.
I am sick and tired of every single video with Alice's name in the little description because it's the one that's recording, getting a fuck ton of likes and views. Probably just because it's Alistair doing it. I think that's just the whole thing. I think you guys see Alistair's name and are like, oh, I better fucking like it, dear daddy.
Will I ever stop being a sarcastic asshole? Find out next week on I Think the Fuck Not.
So systems on TikTok are allowed to use whatever stems they want. You're not barred from using a specific sound just because you have a disorder.
People with this disorder call themselves systems, but what does it mean? Well, essentially it means they have different personalities, known as alters, that take turns controlling their body. When a new alter takes over, it's called switching. They've even got a name for people without DID. They call them singlets. Burn. Damn, man, I guess I'm a singlet. I'm so upset right now. And sometimes
That's just a community term. It's not an actual medical term. I'm not going to go up to someone on the street and ask them if they're a singlet or a system.
it's not even said in the nicest way. People actually use that as an insult, by the way, so think about that. Singlets. I said it.
Okay.
I have no idea what about 90% of these fakers are even kind of going on about, but they take it really serious. And unfortunately, the mental health stigma has been around for ages, and it's still kicking in our society. Other researchers have dug deep into this topic, exploring layers of prejudice and stigma. Look, I mean, I get it. Calling out someone for faking a disorder isn't exactly an easy thing, especially for those who have...
Okay, but you don't know if they are actually faking. That's the thing. You can talk about faking in a general sense. No issue with that. But the second you start pointing out individuals, that is when it becomes a problem.
Actually being diagnosed for real. But seriously, take a scroll through TikTok and you'll see a flood of people claiming to have DID. At this point, it just makes you wonder, like, are they really dealing with this mental disorder, or are they just chasing clout?
I've said it before, I will continue saying it. DID is not as rare as people like to believe it is, and that is because child abuse is not rare. And I know that's hard for some people to hear, but it is just a fact.
Hopping on likes and views. Well, one thing that doesn't quite match up in their stories of people with dissociative identity disorder on TikTok is how their different selves develop and when it happens. Some talk about their different personalities growing and changing over time, which makes sense because DID is a complex thing, but then you have others who seem to switch up their personalities real quick or without much explanation. This makes you think if their experiences are real or if they're just...
You are free to have your own opinions, but by posting about it, you are spreading stigma and misinformation.
making it up.
It's a good thing there are multiple takes on this device because I have been having quite the time. Anyway, let's try to get it right this time. My name is Alistair. I am very old, but also not at all old. I died young, and that is what I'm sticking to. I am a male, have experimented a little bit with agender. Repeating myself is getting very tedious. My sexuality is aromantic asexual, and I am proud of it. I'm very tired of this device. My ethnicity is Creole, mixed Creole, and also a demon. My role here is to be the physical protector, and I have been here since January 2020. I quite hate this.
The way that these TikTokers talk about when these different personalities pop up can be a bit all over the place. Sometimes it seems like they change their personalities out of the blue, which doesn't really fit what we know about DID or how it even works. What is dissociative identity disorder, DID, really about?
I would love to read where this came from myself, but there seems to be no sources in your description, which is another issue.
Dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, is quite a puzzle in the world of psychology. So it's like having multiple characters living inside your head, each with its own backstory, traits, and quirks. But the story of how these alters come to be is far from simple. First off, trauma is a trigger. I know many people on TikTok have seemed to have claimed that you don't need trauma for DID.
You do need trauma to develop DID. That's just a fact. Anyone saying otherwise is very incorrect. If you are a system that is claiming to not have trauma, that is something that you need to, one, not be posting about online, and two, be in therapy for. It's not uncommon for people with DID to think that they don't have trauma. We thought that we did not have trauma. That is what therapy is for. It's for processing things and uncovering things so that you can process it in order to live a healthier life. I know it can also be a denial thing to say that you are a system without trauma, but denial like that isn't healthy, and especially if you are posting about it online, that only spreads stigma and misinformation.
But that couldn't be further from the truth, and is kind of a prime example of what happens when misinformation really takes off on the internet. It's just a recipe for a disaster. But traumatic events, particularly those occurring during childhood, and often including severe abuse, neglect, or other forms of interpersonal violence, serves as the catalyst for the dissociative process. When facing with an overwhelming past that exceeds their capability to cope, someone with real and actual DID may dissociate, mentally disconnecting from their surroundings and emotions as a means of self-preservation. Basically, think of it as your brain trying to protect itself. Imagine your mind as a fortress, and each altar is like a guardian, stationed at a different gate. Each altar may encapsulate specific aspects of somebody's identity, embodying unique roles, memories, and coping strategies, tailored to address particular stresses or threats. For example, one altar may emerge to bear the brunt of the traumatic memories, shielding the core personality from direct exposure to the
Okay, so there's no core personality or original in DID. That's a very common misconception. And another reason why these videos are an issue. I don't know if I've already said this. I don't think I have. In the description, we have a link to a Google Doc with sources. Obviously, we're not a research professional. We're not a professional at all. We are not a therapist. All of our information comes from what we've heard, what we've read, what we've researched ourselves, and our own experiences.
distressing experiences. When something triggers that past memory, maybe a sound or a smell or even a certain emotion, one of those alters jumps into action, and we call it switching. Switching serves as a defense mechanism to merge the overwhelming emotions or threats associated with traumatic stimuli, allowing alters to regulate the person's responses and protect them against more psychological harm. But honestly, it's so frustrating. I mean, how would you even know that most TikTokers fake DID? Well, people with real DID don't often even realize they have alters or even experience memory lapse. When an alter is in control, it's like waking up from a dream and not remembering how you got there. Someone who is suffering with this disorder may conceal their condition due to fear of stigma, disbelief, or even just misunderstanding from others. You might even be wondering, how do we even know all of this? Well, thanks to the advances in neuroscience and psychology, we've been able to peek inside the brains of people with DID and see what's going on. Neuroimaging studies have revealed differences in the brain structure and function among individuals with the disorder, giving us a better understanding of how DID works on a biological level. And although I'm sure most people watching this video go on TikTok quite regularly, you'd be quite surprised to know that only about 1.5% of people worldwide have actually been diagnosed with DID. And honestly,
Yes, diagnosed. That is not taking into account undiagnosed systems. And it also does not take into account people with OSDD1. Which, we don't have OSDD1, so I don't speak about it much. Because it's not a disorder I have.
it's often misdiagnosed and usually needs multiple evaluations for an accurate diagnosis. Which, look, I get it. Now going on TikTok, you would think it's about 80% of the population. It's just not even close. People with this condition often show self-harming behaviors and the attempt to unalive themselves.
So the way that algorithms work, if you are on TikTok looking up things about DID, you are going to get more things about DID. That's why it may seem like everyone on TikTok has DID. It's just how algorithms work. You would not be saying the same if you went on TikTok, searched for something about scuba diving, and got a bunch of people talking about scuba diving. You would not say that everyone on TikTok was suddenly a scuba diver.
So once you understand how this disorder really works, it becomes easier to spot fakers like these.
You don't have access to therapy right now? Just create a has-been hotel in your mind for the persecutors. Whoa. Why? What's wrong? What's wrong with that? Are you making...
Okay. So, no, you can't tell if someone is faking from a 15-second TikTok. Also, I really hope that this is a joke. Therapy is so important.
More interjects. No, just the hotel. Oh, like to redeem them?
Yeah, to redeem persecutors.
I feel like then you're gonna get interjects.
You doze off, so I take your country girl clothes off. I put my hands on your body. It feels like hay. It's a
DID usually starts before the age of 8, when kids are still growing up. So these TikTokers saying that they got their alters from childhood.
Exactly, but I don't know if... I don't think Ablaze knows what tone tags are, and that's not me trying to be insulting. That's just a genuine thought.
Abuse shown in Husband Hotel would have had to seen the show and experienced the trauma before they turned 8. But as I mentioned earlier,
That is incorrect. So, DID develops in childhood, but you can continue splitting off alters for your entire life after that point. Because at that point, the brain knows that when something traumatic or stressful happens, the way that you cope with it is by causing a new split, dissociating, separating it.
the show only came out after 2019. So if they're saying that alters came from later trauma, it's hard to believe alters formed later in their life, usually less complex and not as aware as those made in early childhood. And again, people with DID often...
I would love to see the source for that, but again, you have not provided any, so...
don't remember much about their alters, so claiming to know and control them from childhood trauma just doesn't add up. Plus, saying these alters protect them from childhood trauma shows they don't really understand what DID is about. Alters don't protect against trauma, they help manage through emotions and keep back.
Alters do help protect against trauma. Trigger warning for vague mentions of child sexual abuse. I will not be going into detail, but it will be mentioned. One of the alters I was before I fused, her name was Val. Her memories started around the age of 3. She was active in high school, and there was a situation where something had happened. Her role from childhood was a sexual protector, and that continued into high school. There was a situation with someone we were in a relationship with. Val switched in to deal with that trauma. So it's not just dealing with the emotions that result from it, it is dealing with actual trauma. And flashbacks are traumatic. It's trauma. It's reliving trauma.
bad memories separated. Claiming they do otherwise reveals a lack of understanding about DID. Also, Has-Been Hotel is rated for mature audiences, with its 17+ rating and graphic content, requiring an age-restricted paywall. Despite its animated style and fanbase, it features profanity, 18+ jokes, and discusses of death and sin. Given these restrictions, it's improbable that children under the age of 8 could access this content independently. So if these teens only started watching recently, it's hard to believe they suddenly developed these complex alters inspired by the show. Most die-hard Has-Been Hotel fans have really gone above and beyond in their own obsession, and have actually now started to romanticize having DID, because, you know, what's more appealing than having a bunch of alter egos running around in your head, right?
Okay, so alters are not alter egos. Alters are separate identities existing in one body. I know scientifically alters aren't scientifically different people, but that's what we consider ourselves because we have different likes and dislikes and memories and ways that we cope. Our reactions are different. So, alter egos are not the same as alters.
So epic and quirky and cool. Sick. But really, they've just turned a serious mental health condition into TikTok's latest trend. It's just sad. I mean, talk about taking fandom to a whole new level of weird.
Because I literally went from kidnapped by a horrible media organization for entertaining an audience to I live in Victorian London in a house with Kenny from South Park and Eevee from Pokemon, where I'm a single father to them, and we have a swimming pool. And sometimes I help it.
So the characters and themes in Has-Been Hotel touch upon serious issues like abuse and narcissism. When people claim to have alters based on these characters, it just shows they're deeply involved in the show. Now, to think about the psychological side of things, if someone's alter is rooted in themes of abuse or narcissism, it might show behaviors that reflect those themes. These behaviors
Not necessarily. And not all fictives are like their sources. One of our fictives that we have in the main system, her name is Audrey. I will not be sharing her source. She used to be very, very connected to her source. But over the years, she has grown and changed and majorly separated herself to the point where the only real similarities between our alter Audrey and her source are her name, her age, and her appearance. Not all alters are going to split off from a source and instantly be completely like that source. Sometimes fictives will split off and be nothing like their source. So it depends on the alter. But also, even if a fictive is similar to their source, it does not mean that they will act the same. It does not mean that they will automatically be abusive or have toxic personality traits.
behaviors could be harmful as fuck, either to themselves or to others. That's why it's important to realize the potential harm in treating such serious shit lightly.
I wanted to say something. This is going to have to be the last video I react to today. So persecutors often have negative coping mechanisms. It does not mean that they are bad people. It does not mean that they're evil alters. It just means that the way they cope is not healthy.
I mean, when people generally want to raise awareness about mental health, they usually engage in serious discussion and share useful resources, but making crazy videos.
There is no way that you brought up sharing resources when you have none in your description. You can't be serious.
About alters could inadvertently trivialize significant issues and undermine the credibility of people facing genuine struggles. And even those who watch these videos in this trend might find it hard to distinguish between honesty and just straight up bullshit. I mean, take this article for example. It's honestly kind of amusing that the DID TikTok community, mainly prioritizing of kids no older than the age of 15 with all these colorful wacky hair colors, honestly believe that they know more than the doctors. Well, guess what? Some doctors feel the same way about.
So not all doctors are versed enough in dissociative disorders and trauma disorders, and specifically DID, to be able to treat someone with it.
Oh man. Another thing to consider is why people have alters in the first place. Alters are supposed to protect someone from harm, but if these alters are coping with harmful behavior.
So that was a contradiction. Before you said that alters don't protect from trauma, they protect from the emotions. Do you believe everything that you say in these videos? Genuinely. You might, I have no idea, I don't know you. But these scripts are more and more coming off as more AI.
Behaviors, making them public goes against their purpose. Sharing vulnerabilities that should stay hidden can make things worse for the person involved. So
it's a system's choice whether or not they share things. Like, I share some of my trauma. But I didn't say Audrey's source, for example.
So, to wrap things up, it's pretty clear that the whole TikTok trend is just another passing phase. What's popular today, like joining on these has-been hotel DID fakers, might not be tomorrow. But we've got to remember it's okay to feel a bit lost and want to fit in, but pretending to have a serious mental condition really isn't the way to go, as it really spreads so much misinformation, which inadvertently does the opposite.
I would say that these videos spread much more misinformation than the entirety of TikTok. But I need to be done for today. Thank you everyone for watching. Again, do not seek out any of these people, whether they were mentioned or shown in the videos or the creator of the video. Just leave them alone. Don't insult them. Don't. That's not what these streams are for. I know that I get heated and frustrated a lot during these. But it does not mean that we want to see just insults in our comments. I need to go. Thank you everyone for watching.